Hello everybody, we're going to start on the last portion of Excel we're going to do this semester. The first tab we're going to write here, we're going to double click down here where it says tab, type in the word invoice, and you can go to Blackboard to see the examples. I have two uploaded for you to look at. One of them is what the finished invoice will look like with the formatting here with this white background so you can't see the grid lines. And then the other example that you see, I've removed the formatting here and you can see the grid lines. So this you can go and download these files and use them as a guide for where you're going to put all of your information. A few things you need to know: this word invoice and this title of your dream company are two different groupings of cells. So what we did over here, we started at B2 and went to like about G3. So something like this we're going to go and drag. B2 to G3, we're going to do a merge and center. Type in the name of your dream company. Once you have your text in there, you're going to want to float your text in the center. Here you can make it bigger. Adjust your text, your font choice to make it somewhat interesting to look at. And then for this other part here, we're going to grab, from about 6 cells here. We'll do another merge and center, and we'll call this one invoice. You can do this in all caps if you want. And we'll take that and we'll float that text in the center here. And again, you can also change the size and font to your choosing to make it stand out. Once you have these two titles here, you can just grab both of them and we'll put a thick box around it, thick box border. We're clicking on this grid border button. If you do not see this button, if you have a Mac and you don't see it, it's because your window is not maximized. Possibly you have your window kind of small and you've got YouTube or something else open in the background. If that's the case, just maximize your screen and you'll be able to see many more buttons here. Once we have that, the next part is we're going to draw this section here, and I go from B4 to I19. And if you ever want to know the name or coordinates of a cell, you can just look over here. It is listed right there. B4 to I19. And I went in and filled in this information. You're going to pretend like you are a buyer for somebody famous. You're going to put your dream sales rep over here, your dream client over here, and you can just make up the rest of this information, including the phone number. What I do want you to pay attention to, in addition to where you put all of this information, is this column right here. All of the text here is justified on the right side. That means after I typed out the words like this in this column here, I highlighted all of these words and I selected right side justification, align to the right. Boom, and it pops all the words over to the right side. These texts here, I'm going to put left side justification here. So we have all of our words kind of sandwiched around this center line right here in between the two. So when we take this area and we add our white paint in here to clean up the invoice, you'll see a line that goes down the middle of these two columns here, and I will show you what that looks like again. So what I did was I grabbed this column right here. Actually, this is showing all borders. If I go no borders, we can see it. No border. It has no line right here. So what I'm going to do is I want to have a line appearing between these two columns. So I'm going to grab this column here, and we'll say right side border. Boom. So there's that line right there. I mean, you could grab this column here and say left side border if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter, as long as you have a line in between and these words are squished up on the right side. After you have this, I'm going to go ahead and redo my title bar here. Even though I have two cells here, as long as I say thick outside border around both, and then eventually fill it with some white paint there, it'll be fine. Over here I have this big area of white because I dumped a big bunch of white on here. Again, if you want to see what it looks like with no white color, that's what it looks like. But we do want to have a nice clean white background here. And I want to put a thick box border around it, just kind of to frame it. We'll add some white color right here. Boom. For this text cell here, I have it at, the cell is E18. We are just going to type in, make sure that your units here are on percentage here, and we'll type in the tax rate of the state wherever you want to, your dream state of where you want to live. I put in 8.75. I think that was California's tax rate. I'm not sure. You'll have to go ahead and Google that. Down here for these cells here, I do have merged and center two cells on top of each other. So I went from cell B20 to B21. I did a merge and center. I centered the text and I have it floating in the middle. Here I have, it goes from C20 to G21. Here I have it from H20 to H21. Here I have it from I20 to I21. And you can add a little bit of neutral color here if you want. Over here, I want to have 10 items that you might buy. I mean, you can put anything you want in here. Lamborghinis, chickens, pepperoni pizza. I don't care. Go ahead and make this column right here. We're going to change the units to accounting right here, or currency, either one. Both of those will put, your dollar sign here. The difference is when you do currency, you have a choice of, what kind of currency you want to use. We're going to use English dollars here. And I want you to have somewhat of a realistic price for the items you're buying. And then just go ahead and, you can punch the keyboard over here of how many units your client is purchasing. So apparently Kim Kardashian here is buying 500 leather dresses. You can put in Uggs, you could put in, tigers or something, whatever you want. But the thing is, when you put the price over here, make sure your units are there. See, tigers cost what? $3,500. So you just type in the number, it automatically puts the units in here. So we have how many we purchased, we have what they cost. So these are two numbers you're going to have to make up, but keep it somewhat realistic. Okay, and then over here for the amount, what we want to have here is an equation of how we figure out how much we spent. So if we bought 500 skirts at $25 a piece, how much does that cost? So we're going to put our equation in here. Equal sign to indicate to Excel that we're going to do some math here. And then you just click on the cells. So you say, I want the quantity of how much I purchased multiplied, and that's the asterisk symbol, and the unit price. Then you hit enter, and it does the math for you. Apparently 500 times 25 is 12,500. Once you have that equation here, we're going to grab this little chocolate chip right here, or a blueberry if you have a Mac, and we'll drag it all the way down for those 10 entries, and we'll have our numbers in there. And so the great part about having a template is if we do end up changing our numbers here, if we just say like, oh, she only bought 50 skirts, the number will automatically change. All the numbers will change, especially for the subtotal here. Subtotal is just adding up all these numbers here. So I click on this cell, and we can go through and just do an addition, or we can go over here, and Excel already has an auto sum button. If I click on that auto sum, boom, it automatically goes equal sign sum, to add all these cells together, open parentheses, I-22 through I-31. It's automatically there. Boom. There's our subtotal. Now this one cell here I will be paying very close attention to. I'm asking the lab instructors to grade this one specifically. It's the tax rate. A lot of students always get to this part here and they try to run through the wet paint and hope no one notices. We notice. The tax rate, how do you calculate that? You multiply the subtotal times this cell. Not this number, the cell. So what you want to do here is you say equals, you click on the subtotal cell, I-32, and you say asterisk, that's multiplication. Then just simply click on this cell. That's all you have to do. And see right here, when I check the equation, it should say something like E18 or whatever your tax rate cell is, D17, E18. But just, I don't want to see an actual tax rate number in here. The reason for that is because if you put in an actual number, later you're going to have to go back and change the number anytime you make an adjustment to this template. If you just have the equation pointing to this cell, it doesn't matter what number you put in here, it will always multiply the subtotal by this cell, whatever the contents of that is, which will give you the correct tax rate. $135,000 in taxes. She can afford it. Okay, freight, we're going to leave that blank. And then down here for the grand total, please pay this amount. You could even grab these two cells here and do emergent center, and we can float our text in the middle. and then put our equation here, will simply be your subtotal added to the tax. So we'll just go equal sign subtotal plus the tax. And that's your please pay this amount. And we can give that like a little bit of a different color, like just to indicate that we're serious here. So again, I have over here, I have a bold black box around my middle portion. I've bolded this text here. I've gone through, and this area right here, I do have all of the all borders are visible, right? So when you do it like that, you do lose this thick outer border here. So I can once I have all my borders in, I can go back in here and say thick box border. And this is just a little game of how we move borders around here. So this area here, I gave it like a white background, and I took out the borders. I said no border, right? I painted it white. Here I have all borders, and I have a thick black border outline around this. And as you can see here, I lost this thick box border, so I'm going to grab this again, and we'll say thick border, right? So I'm just playing around with thick border and white paint to get my formatting to look nice down here. You're going to put all your pretend or real contact info here. I'm going to say no border, right? And then I'm going to say thick box border, and I'll put some white paint there, and you know, make the formatting look nice over here. And then this area too, here we can just say white paint. And this is the formatting that I want to see for your invoice. Now, when you go and download the files, it will look like this. It will just say all board, you know, it will look like that. Yeah, I have two files, one formatted and one without, so you can go and you can plan out where you want to put everything. Make sure you have the tax equation correct.